Hello and welcome along to your Where's My Kitbag podcast here with your three lovely technicians, myself James,
me Will,
and me Steve.
And as per usual, we start each of our lovely podcasts off with the lovely Steve talking to us about what the latest tech video that has come out on our YouTube page, and this one, I must say, is a work of genius.
Oh. So, hello everyone, firstly, how you doing?
Cut to the chase, Steve.
So, we hinted at it last week, a little lighting example video, and its title is Detective, which might hint at what it's about.
Detective.
Basically, what we decided to do, if you haven't seen it already, is we decided to rope in a few of the teachers and give them a bit of an interrogation as to what happened to the Kitbag. Slight correlation to the podcast, none intended. However, we basically thought we'd give some context to some lighting, rather than just say, this is how you do this, this is how you do this. We thought, hey, let's make a little story, so to speak, and leave it up to you, the audience, to determine the fate of one of the staff. Whether that be one of the three of us in this room or one of the other co-stars in the interrogation, inspired by Mindhunter and other interrogation style lighting setups. However, do stay tuned if you want to know how it's done, as myself and Will are looking to do a behind the scenes and kind of break down each lighting setup and why we used it for each individual. So stay tuned for that and let us know what you think of Detective.
Yeah, we had
who did it?
Oh, well, that's for you to decide.
Well, I generally don't know who you're picking who did it. Maybe I did it.
Maybe you did it.
Oh, damn, I did it. Steve wasn't even there and he did it.
I'm on the suspects list. You can vote for me if you really want to, but unless you have a good bit of evidence, you better come and speak to me first before putting a vote on me.
It was good fun to make. I think what was nice from our perspective was quite often when we're giving tutorials, so you can talk to people, you can show them in person, but having a video that they can go back and watch at any point, they can watch on a shoot, they can use it pretty much anywhere, is really useful. We had a lot of fun filming it, and it was quite tricky choosing different lighting styles for different people and their personalities and sort of the scenarios we wanted to create. But overall, I think we accomplished it quite well. We talk about the different types of lighting, like we say in the behind the scenes video, which we're working on at the moment. But yeah, definitely give it a watch. It's a bit of fun.
And make sure you vote as well. There is a interactive element at the end if you haven't seen it. So make sure you get your vote in, or you might the person who did it might get away with it. So
unfortunately,
who are the people on the side? Is it everyone?
Unfortunately, we can only have 5 suspects because the YouTube cards only let you put 5 entries.
Oh no!
Yeah, so I chose a random 5 subjects, of which I believe us 3 are all on it.
Oh,
so.
for goodness sake! Oh, come on, Will. Oh god.
There was no way to put everyone on it, unfortunately. So if you do think it's one of the other people, maybe comment it.
Yeah,
in the box
that's a
below.
good idea.
Yeah,
drop
so
it in the comments.
If you think, well, hang on a sec, it wasn't one of these 5, then drop it in the comment box below.
Well, it sounds like a great fun video. I've seen it in stages and I've laughed my head off at most of it.
There's some good acting in there.
There is some quality acting, probably not from me.
No comment.
No comment because it's
true.
I plead the fifth. So go and track that down on our TechNet YouTube channel. Literally just type in TechNet and Farnborough and we're pretty much hit number 1, I think, on the list. So go and check it out and obviously like it, subscribe it, do whatever people on YouTube do these days. I don't know. Ring some notification bell or something.
Trending. Let's get trending.
If we can get on the YouTube trending, I'll be so happy.
TechNet goes viral.
Crikey O'Reilly. Anywho, moving on to the tech news with Mr. Will Devroe. Will, what have you got for us in the tech news sector?
Welcome to tech news for this week. So the first thing we're going to be starting off with is called the Switch Pod. Now, this is mainly aimed at vloggers out there, and it's for use to help them keep their camera steady, keep it portable. Sort of a competitor to the Gorilla Pod is the main sort of audience they're going for, hence the name, I presume. Essentially, it's sort of like, it's a piece of metal almost like an S shape. So you hold the bottom end, it curves up and outwards for the camera to sit in front of you. And it's meant to be quite a nice ergonomic grip, so it's quite easy to use, almost like a selfie stick. but more S-shaped. The big difference is that it's kind of split into 3 bits of metal that all combine to make this grip. But when you flick these bits of metal out, it forms sort of the perfect tripod shape, and it flicks out within a couple seconds, and then you can rest it on the desk, on the floor. So it's meant to be really quick, light, portable, and just a lot more stable, and can have a much heavier payload than the GorillaPod. Peter McKinnon, quite a big YouTuber in terms of like cinematography, sort of camera photography, did a little video on it. He wasn't paid or wasn't sponsored by the video at all, but for him, he said as a vlogger, it's made a huge difference on his life. So if there's anybody out there who does make their own little YouTube vlogs, might be worth looking into. I think it's currently on Kickstarter at the moment. When I looked yesterday, it was at £33,000. We had a little look earlier, Steve. What was it sitting at? It was
£105,000.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Because I just Googled literally the term switch pod,
Yeah.
and I've come up with something that belongs in a car. So they're not doing very well on the Google Analytics, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But where did you say it was Kickstarter?
Kickstarter they're on at the moment. It's a pretty interesting little concept. Very, very simple. Peter McKinnon made a good point about saying for their first version, it's really impressive. The concept's really good, lightweight, portable, but still gives you really nice stability. They decided not to put any ball heads or anything on it at the moment, and they just kept it as the normal sort of mount you get with any sort of tripod plate. So people can put their own sort of ball heads on it, or whatever they want, Manfrotto plates, quick release, whatever they want to on top, which I think is a smart move. And already they've had suggestions from people in the comments about how to make it better, so possibly that for a version 2. Really interesting. Check it out if you're into any sort of vlogging. I think that's definitely well worth even just a look at, or maybe investigating a bit more, to be honest.
I think the thing that really makes it stand out is, especially when I was in the market, looking at a lot of the Joby pods, a lot of people were saying you can't with confidence put a GorillaPod down, walk away from it, and not worry about it falling over. And I think this is what this is going to revolutionise, in being able to put it down on a surface and not worry about it falling over.
Yeah.
I mean, I said to you earlier, not that I know anything about engineering, so I don't know if it's possible. If Joby were able to have some sort of tightening mechanism on where the 3 legs meet on their GorillaPods that would lock in those legs, that would essentially really put a bit of pressure on SwitchPod, but because they don't, I think SwitchPod really do have an edge at the moment, and I think it's a really cool idea.
I think GorillaPod have got to be careful, because quite a few YouTubers live by it. Casey Neistat, for one, uses it all the time, but a lot of these people are now commenting about the unreliability, and I think it's been something that everybody knew but was happy to take because there wasn't an alternative. And now there's an alternative addressing the issue. Everyone's like, well, hang on a second, let's jump on that bandwagon. So I think it's going to take off, personally. I think you'll start seeing a lot of YouTubers using it. The 2 guys behind it, I believe, are both YouTubers as well, so they know the space, they know the area. So pretty cool invention, definitely worth a look.
I've just had a look. It looks cool.
Yes.
That's my summary.
It makes a good sound when it
cool.
flicks open as well.
Yeah. The thing I like as well is if you go on their Kickstarter page, they've gone through several prototypes, so they've really picked their moment to go, okay, we feel like we've got to a good stage, which I think is really good of a pair of dudes who want to actually make something that's ergonomically friendly, which is nice.
Yeah, I agree. So moving on from that, it's a little bit about video games we're talking about. So Kingdom Hearts 3, the long-awaited game release, just came out. It's not so much the game I want to talk about, it's more how they've released it. So quite a few people were a bit confused when they got to the end, and there wasn't really an ending, apparently. So what's happened is when you download the game, it comes in 2 parts. So you get the actual game, and then you get an epilogue, and the ending is only in the epilogue.
Oh, do you have to pay extra for that?
No, you don't have to pay extra.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know.
But the reason they've done it, apparently, is because if there was any leaks or anything of the actual game, they didn't want the ending to be ruined. So they've done the ending as a separate sort of install for you to do, which I believe it just bolts onto the game itself. But it's just an interesting concept, I thought. I don't think any other sort of video game developers done that or cared that much. But
well, other than in the old days where you used to have like 6 PS1 discs to play a game. I mean, that was the kind of that was the only other thing. And if you jump straight to the end, it would make no sense because you've got no premise on what's happened before.
Yeah.
So no, I quite like that idea.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I think the big thing that it does is cause people to talk about it like we're doing now.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
so massive PR stunt. And a lot of these sort of like news articles, the one I read was Kingdom Hearts 3 has no ending. And that was quite interesting for me. I clicked on it and I was like, oh, hang on, it does have an ending, but they're just, it gives people a chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting.
No, that does sound like an interesting concept. I don't know where, like, what other games that would kind of work with.
I don't know. Yeah, obviously single player games. I think. I don't think you could really do anything multiplayer related.
Call of Duty.
But I don't know. Like,
wouldn't really work.
Do you think there's any other massive narrative games out there? Do you think you could start seeing like Red Dead Redemption doing like an epilogue download? Or
I mean, Assassin's Creed is really the only other thing I could kind of think of that could use that kind of thing, but that's almost dying.
It's a bit, I don't know, a bit self-righteous, I guess.
Souls.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're kind of saying our narrative's so good it deserves.
I think could that not be it? Because my first thought, I bought into it and I thought, well, why is this ending that good that it needs to be kept a secret?
Well, that's it.
I'm not a Kingdom Hearts fan. I won't be playing the game, but it intrigued me.
Yeah.
So people who might be on the fence, they might go pick it up to find out what all the hype about this ending is. So
could do.
You know.
I think it's a smart move. I don't really think it has a downside because it's not like you have to pay for the ending or something
As you
stupid.
say, yeah.
Can you imagine?
Free PR. Smart.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think a pretty smart move from their end, to be honest. And the last bit I just want to talk about, again, Apple seems to be popping up in our. Should almost make it a section in our podcast. The amount of trouble they're being running into.
What have Apple done now?
Oh, this is quite a bad one. So Steve alerted me to this a bit earlier, and I was like, well, that sounds pretty bad. I didn't really kind of think too much of it, and then kind of start looking it up, and it just exploded. So I believe it was kind of just kicked off yesterday massively over social media, but I believe it's been going on for a couple of weeks now. Basically, FaceTime on Apple devices has been causing a few privacy issues, I think, to say the least. So essentially what we could do is, or that you can't do it anymore, but what would happen is, say if I was calling Steve and Steve was at home on his iPhone, I could be FaceTiming him, so it's ringing, and if I added myself to the call, it would automatically enable his microphone.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Bit scary,
without Steve touching
bit.
his phone whatsoever, I'd be able to listen to everything that was happening in Steve's room. Which is
no.
Yeah, I could hear him rage at
Rocket League
till the cows come home, you know.
No.
Yeah, it was kind of scary. And then
wow.
I thought, wow, okay, so
that is bad.
you can hear anybody's phone on the other end without them doing anything. And then it got one step worse.
Whoa. One step worse.
So,
how can it be worse than hearing something?
Let's say you get a FaceTime call, and you look at it and you're like, okay, don't really have time to talk to these people right now. There is a red button on the screen, but normally you can click the hold button on the side, and that kind of silences your screen for you as well.
Lets it ring out without being rude.
Exactly. Yeah.
Classic.
So obviously you hit that button. What does that do? Well, it enables the camera.
What?
So without you answering the call. So not only can they now hear you.
So while it's ringing, even if you've not pressed any buttons, it will just open the camera up.
You can click the hold button, and then your face will appear on the other person's screen.
Probably looking confused, going, huh?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to talk to you. Does it also enable the microphone as well?
Yes.
Who's this guy?
Exactly.
No.
So Steve made a good point earlier. You know, your grandma could be calling. You know, she's worried about what kind of types of cookies you want tomorrow night. You're like, I'm not really in the mood to talk about cookies right now. So you hit the silence button. You know, grandma calling me up again. She's just seen everything. You know, witnessed it firsthand. You know, you're a bit stuffed. So I don't know of any cases where it has got people into trouble as of yet. But I mean, in terms of privacy breach, that's a biggie. That's up there.
Definitely puts power in the wrong hands, doesn't it?
There was a really interesting article. So this woman was documenting for 2 weeks. She's been sending them Apple documents about this bug. And on average, it does take a company about 90 days to get it to the right department and stuff like that. So it's just interesting, like a bug on this scale. How do you effectively get that to a big company?
Crikey.
And obviously it wasn't until some like YouTubers started hearing about it, started going through the Twitter phase, and then as soon as Apple seemed to realise, they just disabled FaceTime group calling instantly. I believe there is a fix out for it now. But yeah, I mean, in terms of invasion of privacy, that is
So
can't really get more than that, can you?
That's a 10 out of 10
Yeah.
for invasion of privacy.
Yeah.
That is. Oh, crikey.
Yeah, so really interesting. It just seemed to getting in a lot of trouble recently. Personally, I don't have an Apple device.
No, neither do I, luckily.
No, I'm very anti-Apple devices.
Uh,
I've never owned an Apple device.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Never.
that is quite impressive.
Never
I used to have
owned-
the
I had an
iPod Touch.
I've never had a single iPod, never had anything.
Oh,
No,
wow. I jumped off the bandwagon as of last year and got a Samsung.
I'm very Apple
But-
free.
The only thing I'd say is you never trust Apple because who knows if it's been fixed. So if you are worried about it, just go into your settings and disable FaceTime and you don't have to worry about the issue.
That is also
Only
an
if,
option.
yeah, only if you're worried if it hasn't been fixed, because you never know.
It just
Absolutely.
I think this sort of thing makes you wonder. Like, obviously, the microphone can be activated on and off. It can be activated on and off remotely.
Yep,
Obviously, so
absolutely.
you know that's just with Apple devices. It also affected Macs, by the way. So any Mac desktops, it also was all affected by that bug. And quite interesting. I'm just interested in, we say, do these smart home devices and stuff actually listen in and stuff like that? I think we can be pretty safe to say they do.
Yeah, we had this discussion during lunchtime today about the whole advertisement thing, which could be its whole entire segment. But I guess we can quickly skim over it. So we were talking about a video that popped up. A lot of you may have heard it because it was very, very big at the end of last year, about a guy who says, I'm going to talk about this, and lifts up a bit of paper and it says dog toys. And he says, I don't own one of these. I've never had one, yada, yada, yada. Then talks about it for a minute. Bear in mind, prior to this, he goes on his internet and looks at all the advertisements, spends a minute talking about dog toys, and then goes back onto the internet and it is flooded with advertisements for dog-related things, which is kind of scary.
That is pretty scary.
That is quite bizarre.
I didn't buy it, to be honest with you, until I got a new car and I was just talking about car radios, hadn't even looked into the idea. Weirdly enough, that same day, advertisements for touchscreen car radios came up. And I was like, fine, okay, fair. I didn't look into it, didn't want to look into it. I merely had a conversation with someone about it, so...
But did you have a conversation near your computer?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I must have had my phone in my hand or in my pocket or something. My phone was in my vicinity.
Oh.
So
that's a bit eerie, isn't it?
That is bizarre.
And so, to be so niche as well, isn't it? Like
car radios.
Exactly. Touchscreen car radios.
Yeah, it was it's an interesting one. So
that is freaky. I don't think I've had it happen to me.
Fortunately, I'm not one of the ones to because one of the teachers was saying, do you cover up your webcams and stuff? Are you on that? I was like, no, I'm not doing it. Like, if someone tuned into my webcam, all they're going to see is me eating
Yelling
Pringles with headphones on, playing a video game or editing. They're just going to hear the same bit of audio just repeat over and over again when I'm trying to get a cut right.
Yeah.
Just hearing the occasional crunch of a Pringle.
I missed the focus.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it.
Fortunately, I'm got nothing to hide. So if the FBI want to tap in, go ahead. You're not going to see much.
You'll be like, hello.
Hello.
You're watching me live stream my editing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting. As we move into the future where things become more and more accessible and security seems to ramp higher and higher, it's just I think there will be a breaking point at some stage where I think your own privacy rights almost have to be rewritten in terms of tick boxes. I think, yes, I want this shown. No, I don't want this shown. Yes, I think it'll be it could be a whole list of that. You never know.
May even go back to physical documents, just because the online stuff is too risky. You never know. We could have a full podcast about all these different conspiracy theories, couldn't we?
The copyright special.
If you genuinely, to anybody who's listening, if you've had any similar kind of stories of that kind of stuff, I'd love to hear about it. Come and tell us in the office, because
interesting stuff.
I'm curious if I'm the only one.
Conspiracy theories.
Yeah, or feel free to drop us an email, technet@farnborough.ac.uk. Comment on this on SoundCloud or YouTube.
Yeah, tell
anything.
us
Come and see us. We'll write down anything you say and we will mention it next week.
Lovely. Yeah. Okay. And that wraps up the Tech News of the Week.
Tech News with Dev. I still need to make you jingles.
Yes, please.
This needs to be a thing. Everything needs a jingle. I will see what I can do.
I feel like there should be the sound of someone biting into an apple whenever apple is brought up as well.
I'm going to end up with a soundboard of clom clom and just various eating sounds. Or what if Samsung done crunch? Anywho, right, film of the week. So last week, me and you, Will, challenged Steve to watch Ready Player One. Steve, did you watch Ready Player One?
I did.
Yay!
I've seen
So,
it.
Steve, tell us, what did you think about Ready Player One?
So overall, before I get into breaking it down a little bit, I did enjoy the film. I actually did like the film. I had a couple
Good
of
start.
issues with it that kind of progressed through the film, but they kind of blended into one another. Being a person who's grown up with video games, I loved the fact that it referenced stuff throughout my whole life, to be honest with you, you know, from playing early, you know, platformers to, you know, Halos, Dooms, loads of stuff. Like I could go on for ages with the little references I saw. Even games I didn't play, it was cool to see the references, and I thought it was really impressive. I did have a couple of issues, which I am going to unfortunately spoil, because I think it does need to be talked about a little bit, which I have discussed with
See, this is why we need another spoiler alarm.
So this is a spoiler alert, and bear in mind, this is something that I had a bit of an issue with. So the whole time I was like, where are law enforcement during the film? Because surely this, if IOI, the big conglomerate company that were challenging, is it Wade and the High Five, if they're the law, then fine. You know, if in that world they're the law, then I guess I can roll with it. But the fact that there was literally a terrorist attack on the stacks in halfway through the film where Wade's parents pass, I always thought, where's the police investigation unless IOI are the law? And I then, you know, throughout the film, once it happened, I thought, okay, well, they must be the law. They're flying drones around planting explosives. If that's the way it is in this world, then fine. That can potentially explain why the stacks exist. And then we get to the end of the film, and the police just arrive, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Where were you earlier when there was a terrorist attack? Like, come on. I mean, if the police had not turned up, I would have completely bought in that the IOI were just, you know, money buys power. Would have rolled with that. The police could have never turned up.
Well, I mean, the whole kind of theory of the video game world is that, isn't it? Is that even currency in game can buy you stuff
Absolutely.
in real life.
Absolutely.
So I think it's kind of set up for you to believe that almost. But then you're right. You get to the end, you're like, hang on a minute.
Because I would have been disappointed if the police turned up after the explosion at the stacks, but I would have been much happier if they just didn't turn up at the end of the film and something else happened to stop. I can't remember what the boss of IOI is called, but something else besides the police turning up. It was a bit of a shame. But, you know, if that's going to be my biggest criticism of a video game film, not the biggest thing. I'm not too bothered about it. I mean, the only other thing I suggest in regards to an actual storyline, if you take away all the incredible film and game references, would it still hold as a good film when you actually look at how the story progresses? It's something to consider. I mean, I loved all the references, so I don't want to, but as somebody who has spent a long time analysing, I'm quoting and unquoting, analysing film, I have to look at it from that perspective and say, if somebody who had never played video games watched this, would they enjoy it? And I don't know if they actually would. It might be too leaning on the references. But, you know, that's potentially being picky and open for interpretation. Me personally, because of the references, they aided the story, and I really enjoyed it. I think it was a good time to release a film like that in regards to where virtual reality is going. And yeah, I mean, it was a good all-round film for what it was. It wasn't trying to be too much, wasn't trying to be too little. Besides the lack of law enforcement, which not an issue, you know, because it's not, you know, a groundbreaking film, I'd give it, you know, 6.5, maybe even a push of a 7. But that's from a video game lover, so that's where I'd rate it.
Yeah,
so yeah, thank you for recommending it, because I really did want to see it, and I'm satisfied. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't satisfied.
Satisfied, Steve.
That's good. Nice.
Steve is satisfied.
What a well-rounded review.
Just a quick minute from each of you. What did you guys think of it? Because I haven't actually proper asked.
I mean, I last saw it at the cinema, which was when it came out. So my mind will be quite. But now you mentioned the law enforcement, I can't now unthink about that now. So I'm gonna have to rewatch it to then just watch it through.
Did we watch this with Isle of Dogs?
We did.
Yes,
we watched.
okay.
Well, we did a double hitter. We went and watched Isle of Dogs. And then about an hour later, we went to the pub, obviously, as you do. And then an hour later, we watched Ready Player One as a kind of like the nice, like almost not jovial, but kind of like light relief after a like the heavy almost the heaviness of Isle of Dogs. But I really enjoyed it. Like you said, I loved all the video game references, all the kind of niche bits and bobs that were stuck in there. I thought at times they kind of like almost like try to overfill the screen with references, like reference, which for me I was just kind of like, just give me some.
Yeah.
I don't need like 500,000 references to things. But then when you kind of pick up a one that was like really like sneakily like snuck in a corner, you're like, I appreciate that.
Exactly, that was what you found in the image on Google Images when we were putting the stuff together about Borderlands. I didn't see there was a Borderlands in there, but there's an image and it's just in the bottom left and there's Claptrap in it, and it's like, wow, I didn't know there was a Borderlands reference in there, because as you say, it's so quick. I mean,
I think it's quite interesting because it's almost aimed at two audiences. I feel like the references, some of them go really deep, don't they, to some really kind of off-kilter games.
You need to know it,
Exactly.
Otherwise you're just going to be like, who this?
The whole premise of like the Easter egg and stuff, they spend time explaining that as if you weren't a gamer. So it's quite interesting how they kind of tackle the two sort of audiences, or they try to at least. For me, it was enjoyable. It was pretty immersive. I never really thought I was like out of that world. Personally, I enjoyed the book a lot more. I'd really recommend reading the book. But that was off a recommendation as well. And I read the book before I saw the film. Wasn't quite what I had visioned in my mind, but it was still pretty good. I enjoyed it. Yeah, like you said, I just enjoyed watching it.
How would the book illustrate game references as well as the film did?
It references older things,
right?
But things like the races and stuff like that, it refers to characters during them, during those sort of sequences. Just in general, the universe seemed a lot more depth to it. The characters had a lot more depth to it as well.
Right.
And it's a bit more time in the real world as well. Not as much in the Oasis. But it was good. I enjoyed it.
Cool.
Out of 10, what would you give it, Will?
I'd give it a 6 personally.
Ooh. I quite enjoyed it. I'd give it a 7. 7.5 if I was feeling very generous.
As I said, I'm somewhere in the middle. 6.5, 7. 7 if they fix the law enforcement.
Steve's law enforcement. Right, well, obviously now we've got to set Will Devereaux a film to watch. It's me and Steve's turn. Now, for some reason, we find this very hard because Will seems to see all the films at all the times. So after much probing, Steve, what film have we set for Mr. Will Devereaux to watch that he has not seen?
I'm waiting for a lot of the listeners to go, wait, really?
What?
It's
what?
A 2008 film called The Hurt Locker.
Boom.
I mean, that's surprisingly apt.
That's very surprising. So we were trawling through films and we were like, okay, let's actually state the obvious, because you never know, there might be one that sticks out. And we were in the office and we were looking across all the DVDs that are spread around the office, and Will goes, I haven't seen The Hurt Locker. And it's one of those films that's like so well received that you just think everyone's seen it. So we didn't even think of talking about it, and then we just kind of looked at each other and went, what? Well, we've both seen it. It's incredible.
And it's really strange because I'm quite a big fan of sort of like the modern era war films, that kind of like style and aesthetic. So I don't know why I never got around to watching it, to be honest.
Well, no, we're quite confused as well. So, Will, that's your task for this week.
Just for anybody who
hasn't
seen The Hurt Locker, just to give you a rough rundown, it's about a sergeant that was assigned to an army bomb squad out in Afghanistan, and he's put at odds with his squad mates due to his, and this is what IMDb quote to be, his maverick way of handling his work. But this film has won 6 Oscars, it's won Golden Globes, BAFTAs. In total, IMDb have stated that it's won 123 awards with 127 nominations.
That's pretty damn solid.
Which is incredible.
That's a big poster.
So, yeah. Enjoy. I'm even going out there to say...
Who's the leading role again, Steve?
It'd be Jeremy Renner.
Jeremy
Renner is the lead role in it. A young-faced Jeremy Renner. And it is, I think, Catherine Bigelow is the director, and she's the first... female director to win Best Picture, I want to say. I could be wrong.
I think you might be correct.
I think that's...
Yes,
is that right?
I think you are right, yes. Someone will fact-check this, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, as you said to me earlier, you do like your war films. I think after this, it could be up there at one of your favourite films.
High praise.
Yeah.
Praise.
I'm hyped now.
Because it is I've seen it 3 times.
I've seen it once, very long time ago, but I remembered I was just like, this is a great film. This is solid.
I was always so engaged, so engaged with the,
especially for being a longer length film. I'm looking forward to it.
But yeah, enjoy.
Thank you. Cool. I'm looking forward to that one.
Nice. Will, challenge accepted. Now we need a briefcase that explodes or something. Very Mission Impossible style. Anyway, right. Lastly, it is time for me to waffle about music, which is great because I love it all. I've been playing this song literally on repeat all week. No, it's not any more electronic bagpipes. Steve will be happy to know there are no...
The song you have chosen, I've listened to 5 or 6 times already, and you showed me last night. It's a very good song.
It's an artist called Jai Wolf, spelled Jai, then Wolf, like the animal. And it's a song called Lose My Mind, featuring someone called Mr. Gabriel. Now, I don't know if Mr. Gabriel's a teacher or if he just refers to himself as Mr. Gabriel at all times. Really good song. I do this thing where I just kind of roam around YouTube and just find stuff. And I let YouTube's like autoplay shuffle thing just give me things. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's very bad, sometimes it's exceptional. And this is one of those few times where it was really, really good. And absolutely love it to bits. But yeah, Jai Wolf, originally born in Bangladesh, moved over into New York when he was about like 1 or 2, I think it is. And he's been producing music ever since.
Yeah, you found a gem
which is
there.
quite good. And
nice.
He's got quite a few other great songs. He's got an album on the way in April, I think, is his debut album coming out. Highly recommend it. Video slightly depressing. It involves a bit of space, so that also lured me in because I love my space. So yeah, the video's a little bit depressing, but the song is quality.
Video's definitely worth the watch, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's nice.
It's a really nice idea. I thought anyway. But yes, Jai Wolf, Lose My Mind is my tune of the week for this week. And that pretty much wraps it up.
And on that bombshell.
We're not.
I'll save that
one. Insert Top Gear. So yeah, on that bombshell, like Will said, that is it for Where's My Kit Bag today. Thank you very much for listening. I've been James.
I've been Will.
And I'm Steve.
And yeah, this has been Where's My Kit Bag.
Hello again, Steve here. Thanks very much for listening to the Where's My Kit Bag podcast. Do feel free to drop us a comment about anything you want us to cover in the comment section down below, or drop us an email at technet@farmer.ac.uk. Nice one.